Me growing up, sports pretty much saved me. Every time you work at something, it's like you see this progress, you see yourself improving, and you see the strength come, and that's what I get excited about. And I'm trying so hard to model that and be able to kind of show my kids too. It's like this is where the value is. You go for the hard thing, and then the payout is so much more substantial, and you're not going to see it right away. So the delayed gratification, that whole mindset, that's something that any area I can improve and grow, I'm going to go there.
Welcome to the Hard Way podcast with Joe Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan Races. We're teaching you how to overcome your obstacles in your life the same way we teach our 10 million plus Spartans to overcome obstacles on the course, with insight from the smartest, most accomplished experts from every corner of the world. Get ready to elevate your life today.
Joe Sena here, CEO and founder of Spartan and host of the Hard Way podcast. I've got my buddy Justin Andrews from Mind Pump Media. We know each other. How long we know each other? At least 10 years, right?
At least 10 years. Yeah, you were one of the first couple, I think, interviews we had, and we brought you out here. You drove in a minivan, unassuming, and we found out later that you're this big CEO, and we hit off right away, let's be honest.
We got along right away. I think we called my buddy Jimmy Bins from Philly on the phone while I was in the room. He was packing at the time and riding a Harley maybe through the streets of Philly. You guys are awesome. You've had, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've had, 10,000 coaches you guys have interacted with, hundreds and hundreds of podcast guests, certainly trained your asses off yourself. You've seen everything regarding fitness, resilience, strength training, come and go. What's popular today, not popular? You've seen it all.
Yeah, there's a lot of trends. I mean, this industry is all about trends because they're trying to capture your attention. They're trying to make you feel shame, to push you in a lot of times. And you'll see just this popularity kind of takes over. And then as coaches, we have to sift through this, filter through all of it and find, ways to relate in order to get some buy-in, and then we're going to steer them towards the tried and true. And we try our best to simplify a lot of the approach, because I think that's really where a lot of people get confused and it's overwhelming. And so we're trying to talk to your everyday average person and help them kind of navigate and sift through all the bullshit that's going on.
What would you say? I mean, I tell people, but don't agree with me if you don't agree, right? Actually, my buddy Dave Asprey, right? Big biohacking guy, you've seen him. He knows his shit. He'll invite me to come speak. I got to go speak at one of his things coming up, and I'll get on stage and I'll say, like, you guys are a bunch of fools, right? Like, why don't you just carry a rock around? Like, well, you don't need all this stuff. What are you guys doing?
I know it's pretty hilarious, and I think that we have this idea that technology is going to do all these magical, amazing things. And I'm seeing the progression of technology and how it's taking away a lot of purpose and a lot of lessons that are so necessary. Now we're so focused on trying to make things easier and more accessible that we're not learning lessons anymore. And we're not using critical thinking, and we're not really challenging our muscles and our brain the same way we used to. And so I just don't see the value in it like I used to. I used to love technology, and I was really into science fiction. And I'm like, oh man, when are we going to get our hoverboards? I don't want a hoverboard now. I'm just like you. I want to pick up rocks. I want to chop trees, and I want to hike, and I want to get away from it all. So it's different. It's wild. It's a lot now to deal with technology wise.
It is a lot. I saw my son, my younger son, last night staring at the phone. And I yelled at him, as I always do with all the kids, are you suggesting, Dad, that there's no benefit at all? And I had to, take a step back and think for a minute. And I thought, well, there is some benefit. I kind of like that you're not watching a sitcom on TV like we used to when I was a kid, and that maybe you're getting some, inspirational quotes or some ancient Stoic knowledge or something from an influencer. I kind of like that, but I don't like that we all spent 2 hours a day on the damn thing, right? Like,
I mean, we're literally getting sucked into this other reality. And yeah, I just see it happening with my kids too. I have a 15 and a 12-year-old, and my 12-year-old, I'm still really trying to keep from the phone, but I know it's coming, and it's something that I'm just going to have to deal with. But my oldest, we're just constantly battling, and getting him outside is everything for me, and just ripping that thing away. It's the proximity. It's interesting because even video games when we were growing up, just that distance of having the TV, far enough away, or you had your friends over and you're interacting with them, was a completely different experience than now. You're just immersed in it, and so it's a hard thing to kind of take them out of this new reality and then place them back in sunshine and fresh air. So yeah, that's always top of mind for me, and it's my responsibility, I feel, especially to create and construct this environment that's something that excites them to go move, to go do something. And we have pretty high standards in terms of like your body's movement and challenging it, and just the same emphasis I have on that as I have on them in their academics. And that's just a huge priority for me. So, but it's always a constant fight because we go through highs and lows with that. And it gets comfortable to kind of break off in our different rooms and then, slow down and get sucked into these things. But I think really that's the future for me with all this is being able to really manage that appropriately and be able to create separation from it.
A couple of things for the parents or soon to be or someday parents listening in. Number one, I was thinking about this actually today. So we have 4 children. Knock on wood. Hopefully they all go to university. I'm a believer in it because it's a chance to level up and be on your own and have to hit deadlines and learn how to learn, et cetera. When I think about the success we're having so far in the short term with our oldest and our next oldest, I would say that success came from demanding physical work every single day. So even though the phones were around, even though technology was around, me, we've had this discussion. I've had, kung fu masters living in. We demanded physical activity, 2-3 hours a day on the farm. And the beauty of this pending disaster of devices is that it doesn't require much to stand out and be incredible and be a great rower or lacrosse player, because all the kids are in their house, they're staring at devices, right? So like if you're a parent and you're willing to force and probably do it with them for a decade, you all of a sudden have an Olympic, what would have, like in the 60s and 50s and 40s, it would have been impossible to be an Olympic level athlete. Everybody was fit, right?
I know. So I guess that's the silver lining. Yeah, if you want to look at it that way. I know, because both my kids were in gymnastics and my oldest is still doing it. It is very clear that is a very small community now. And he's already had college recruiters and people trying to tell him like, hey, if you stick with this, you got a real shot at the Olympics. And I'm like, he's 15. Like, that's crazy. But also, too, it's like you do see that. There's not a lot of emphasis on sports even anymore. And kids are pretty happy just going to school and then hanging out and being on their devices. So the competition is real slim. So if you can actually stick with it, there's a lot of opportunity there to shine. So yeah, I totally agree with that. It's getting kind of bleak though. I mean, I hope that more parents kind of see that and then we can kind of get all these kids back on board with sports in general. Cause oh man, me growing up, sports pretty much saved me. So to have that constant, it's work, but at the same time, you're excited to do the work and you want to put your best effort in because every time you work at something, it's like you see this progress, you see yourself improving and you see the strength come. And that's what I get excited about. And I'm trying so hard to model that and be able to kind of show my kids too. It's like, this is where the value is. You go for the hard thing and then the payout is so much more substantial and you're not going to see it right away. So the delayed gratification, that whole mindset, that's something that we need to bring it back.
I don't want to be a curmudgeon and I'm in the business of getting people healthy and off the couch. But when you just made that statement that, you hope it comes back, how's it going to come back? If we lived in a country where it wasn't a democracy, where people had less choice, if somebody forced us, and I know you and I would actually like that. Like I wouldn't push back on that. Like, right? 300 burpees every morning. Otherwise you're not allowed to go to work, whatever. Cold showers for everybody. We're turning the hot water off across the whole, I would like that. But in a democracy where we get to make our own decisions, I don't see it happening. I don't want to be negative, but
it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge that we have to understand. We talk through this quite a bit on the podcast because it's it's always top of mind. It's like, how are we going to influence society and as a whole, and how are we going to be able to make an impact anymore? Because it does look like it's just going in that direction completely. Like, we're just abandoning hard work. We're abandoning, all this stuff that used to make us strong back in the day. We kind of come to the conclusion that there's going to be the plugged in and the unplugged, and there's going to be subcultures within the culture where people get it, and maybe people will start to see these subcultures thriving and see how they live and how much more desirable it is to then kind of pull people back towards the roots of what we started out with. But that's the only optimistic take I can give is really, we do have our own power to create that and to construct that and find other like-minded people to collaborate with. It is happening. It's not popular, and you don't see it all over the news, and you don't see these communities really being lifted up. But I think that podcasting in general has really helped to kind of at least explain a lot of this and the value that hard work provides, and delayed gratification is necessary, and we're going to lose our purpose otherwise. And we're just going to be, it's Avatar. What's that other movie where they put on all the headsets and then they're just lost in this virtual world. I mean, that could very well happen. And then we're going to have stim machines trying to keep our muscles, from atrophying, and we're going to be flying into space. And I don't know, maybe the space race will kind of reignite some activity, but I doubt it.
I kind of wish we had chalk on our hands and we were back in that 1980s gym. Everybody, right? And carrying the rocks. But hey, for those out there, for your kids, if you want, I got a death camp I put on every summer on the farm.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah, about 100 kids I bring out, friends, family. Your kids are welcome. Disconnected devices, 2 weeks, 5 a.m. wake ups in the cold river, carrying rocks up the mountain, basically boot camp. Kids will say it's the worst experience ever, but then once they finish it, they're like pounding their chest. They're the toughest kid. So just know that that's out there for a small, like you said, subgroup of the population.
We'll just have to make it popular, Joe. I think that's amazing. I wish you had that here in California as well, which, there's not a lot of that out here. And we've flirted with ideas of moving places just because it's just so much less of a priority. And it used to be a thing. Like there's a lot of people here that were really into fitness and training, and a lot of people left. But I'm always looking for that. And I'm looking for experiences that they can have that are outside of electronics, and really get them connected back to nature and get them connected to hard work, and just that they can personally accomplish things that are tough. I think that's just so empowering, and it helps them when they face these difficult challenges in their life. And what are we really preparing these kids for anymore? It's like, if we're just going to give them soft gloves for every experience and hover around them and shield them from any kind of opportunity where they can deal with it themselves and overcome it themselves. Like, they're going to always be dependent. I don't want my kids to be dependent. I want them to really, thrive on their own. And again, this is a challenge as a parent as well, as like, not intervening, not coming in and saving, because you're taking that away from them. You're robbing them from really owning that themselves.
I couldn't agree more. All right, let's get back to the beginning where we talked about your pedigree. You've got all this experience, not just parenting, but what would you recommend people do? Like, what does an optimal day look like for a human being? What should people do at the very, very, very basics? Kind of like brushing your teeth, going to bed. What should they do?
Brush your teeth, yeah. Yeah, get some good sleep. So, get 7 to 8 hours of sleep and prioritize that, because that's really where all the recovery and all the work that you're going to do revolves around the recovery. And so we want to be able to adapt, and we want to get stronger. So that's priority number one. And, the hilarious part is we're so busy and inundated with distractions that we don't actually get good sleep. And so that's, as simple as that sounds, that's something that we're constantly reiterating all the time. Like, we need that rest recovery. We need that, because if you're going to go lift weights, which is another thing I highly recommend, because all the studies and everything else is really proving that lifting weights and gaining muscle and building muscle is your best protection. for everything, just about. I mean, for chronic illnesses, just in general, for being able to age well, to build that muscle is everything. So you have to consider a resistance training program, and that's something that we're constantly reiterating. And then seeking protein, and so this is from animal sources, and this is just the best way to to approach your meals is where am I getting my protein from? And first thing in the morning, I try to prioritize some type of a protein because of what we found is it's great for balancing blood sugar throughout the rest of the day. And so these cravings and these opportunities later on where you feel this drop or this high in your blood sugar, you can really minimize that by eating protein first thing in the morning and having that energy as well. So I used to fast a lot in the morning, and I thought that I was, being optimal with that. And I'm eating in the window. Over time, actually, my metabolism was slowing down, and I was definitely feeling the effects of that. And so this is something too that, I've had to adjust. And in terms of diet, I'm not going to get into too much in specifics with diet because everybody is so individual and they have their own needs with that. But, some of the big rocks, it's really prioritizing protein and it's everything's really moving in that direction. And creatine is all of a sudden now this magical supplement that's been around forever. It's the most studied, supplement that we have. And it's funny because it's making the rounds again as a priority. Those are a few things. And then walking in between meals. So if I want to have the most optimal digestion, I want to have the most optimal energy and all these other benefits, and even goes into sleep so I can get more deep sleep. If I pair these 10-minute walks after each one of my meals, to kind of facilitate better recovery with that as well. So those are like little life hacks, if you will, that are just very simple and something that's achievable for just your everyday average person.
I like that. And I agree. I grew up in a house that was vegan. My mom's house, my dad was cannolis and raviolis and Chinese food, and fasting and eating within those windows. And you're right. If I eat some hard-boiled eggs early in the morning, it does kind of level things out, and I'm not so ferociously hungry later.
It's actually made a huge impact for me. I guess I'm more vocal about that these days because I had that major shift. It's affected my performance in the workout as well. And so those are things too that I'm always kind of gauging how my workouts have been going. Am I still getting stronger? Okay. And I'm 45 and you're,
56.
Probably the same age. Yeah. but you want to make sure, even I don't care how old I am, I want to make sure I'm still getting strong in some direction. And so for me, I look at it as a pie chart. I'm looking at wherever I haven't put emphasis and focus, that's the thing now. That's the slice of the pie that I want to incorporate as a priority. And then it's going to shift and it's going to move. It's a constant moving target. Like right now, I'm shooting this series on YouTube, and I'm trying to push myself to get a PR, to get a max lift that I've never done before, this overhead push press. And I'm trying to work my way through 3 months of just real dialed in specific programming to get there. But I haven't really cranked that knob up in a long time. And I'm feeling my body has to really, I have to bring a lot more stability back. I got to get everything to the framework to get stronger again for me to support that kind of weight that I'm going to throw over my head and do it where I'm not going to get injured. And so I have to be very intentional. And that's really the word as you get a bit older in age is everything has to be so much more intentional and have some kind of meaning behind it. Otherwise, what the hell am I doing? I have to be efficient. I have a lot of responsibilities. I have I have a lot going on business-wise. I have a lot of kids. Well, 2 kids, but I have a lot of activities for them, and I have to manage all this stuff. And so anything I'm going to do for exercise and workouts, let's dial it in. Let's crank it to the degree that it's going to move me forward. If I'm too much, I crank it back. If I'm not enough, I'm cranking it up. And then I'm looking at my sleep, and I'm looking at my diet, and just overall activity through the day, and just my mood. And so, all these factors, you're listening to your body. You're not, doing things in spite of what your body's telling you to do, which is another big mistake that a lot of new lifters have coming in. They think that, I'm just going to work through this, and I'm going to work through this injury, and guess what? It's not going away. And if you neglect it now, it's just going to get worse. So I've already gone through part of that, and having to kind of reinforce parts of my shoulder and get that all worked through. But yeah, these are all seasons, and I look at this as a season now where I'm trying to push the boundaries a bit, so that way my new level is a bit higher, and I'm growing. So yeah, any area I can improve and grow, I'm going to go there.
I love it. I think that the big takeaway here is intentional. I like that word. Very popular word, as you said. As we get older, we've got to be really intentional about what we focus on, what we do, where we spend our time. How do people find you?
Mind Pump is our podcast, and we're all over the Spotify's and the YouTubes and all that stuff. mindpumpmedia.com. Mind Pump Free is where we have a lot of materials that people can just, a lot of ebooks and a lot of helpful items there for free that we give away, just to bring you some value. So that way you can kind of see, get some help and support in your training efforts. And then we have mapsfitnessproducts.com. That's where we have all of our programming, virtual programmings for any pursuit. So you got, I want to be a strongman competitor. I want to be a power lifter. I want to get on stage and show off my physique, or I'm just I'm a stay-at-home mom, or, I only have 15 minutes a day to give. And guess what? We got a program for that. So we tried to kind of, ask our audience and find out the pain points or the restrictions people have for training, and try to present something that will solve that. And so that's where to find all that.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming. We know where to find you, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. My kids, I'm going to hit you up on that and send them your way to go through that camp. I'd love that. I might even join them.
Consider it done. You're welcome to come, and you could push it out if you want, and ask all your audience who has kids that want to go to death camp.
Yeah, I will. Death camp. Let's go.